And this experience gave me really the opportunity to see and apprehend how the spaces that we design and we build can really change the behavior of people that are using the spaces and even how they feel. And I'm sure it happened to many of you that when you enter a space, maybe a house of a friend or a museum, it can be, you feel you immediately love it for some reasons, but you cannot really pinpoint what is it. You just love the feel of it. And in other cases, you might just hate it. And you cannot as well pinpoint what is it that you hate, because maybe the space looks beautiful and it functions, it's bright, but there is something that is off. So these type of feelings and emotions and seeing how I feel the space and how other people do after they enter into their new home or their new office, it really pushed me to understand what is it that is there beyond design, beyond architecture, beyond the beauty of a space and the functionality of a space, what's out there. And I think that the experience that really has changed my perspective, or at least has pushed me to look for something different in design, is when I found myself watching this beautiful lake. This is a lake in Switzerland, and you reach it by walking into a path into a forest. And as you walk into the path surrounded by trees, all of a sudden you take a curve, like a turn, and this view opens up in front of you. And when I found myself looking at this, and you know, the colors of this lake are so blues and turquoise because it's a natural spring. So it just felt like as if I was whole with nature. I felt part of the environment between, you know, the smell of the trees and what I was seeing and the breeze of the air. And that's when I realized, like, all the, you know, the spaces, the built environment, what we build on Earth should be as wonderful and make us feel as amazing as this nature makes us feel. I mean, everyone feels good in nature. And we should, you know, follow these emotions, which try to build and design spaces to feel this way. And what we're doing now is, you know, most of the buildings that we have, the dwellings, the homes, it's literally blocks that are just planted on the earth. They do not relate to nature. They do not follow the energy around us. And this is what led me to start studying years ago, different disciplines that today I call them all together holistic architecture. So holistic architecture means integrating the art of design with techniques that are, you know, relating to our spirituality. So they come from ancient times, with contemporary scientific methods, because the environment compared to centuries ago or many years ago has changed completely. Today we have different type of frequencies, man-made, we have different type of pollution. So the earth is not the same. So we need to integrate everything together to basically promote what is preventive medicine, which helps us maintaining the health aspect of the self, which is emotional aspects, mental, physical, and spiritual. So this is what is holistic architecture. And these are the disciplines that are part of holistic architecture. One of them being dowsing. This obviously is part of the ancient cultures where dowsers, they're called dowsers, they would douse and feel the energy of the land, so the natural frequencies of the earth, before they start building any type of building. Even the roads of the old cities in the Roman times, they were built on a certain line following the earth energy, and they would end up in squares or churches, temples, depending on what was the historical period, that were built in a specific area because of the very powerful energy that was found in that spot by the dowser. Another aspect is Feng Shui, which works with the environmental energy, We know it as life force, as the qi, and it's a Chinese metaphysical science. And this is used to align our buildings to the energy, the environmental energy, the nature. So we don't just put a block on the earth, we want to build it in a way that is in harmony with the environment. When it comes to man-made frequencies, today, just in the last 20 years, I would say our urban environment, our homes has changed dramatically when it comes to man-made frequencies, because everyone has a phone now, we have computers, printers, we have mobile towers everywhere in the cities. So electromagnetic fields that come from these type of appliances are very, very high, and they need to be controlled to create healthy environments. And lastly, building biology, which relates to sustainability, the health of the materials, and really promoting natural materials as much as possible to avoid toxins in our environments. And we always hear, this is so important, because we are actually made exactly like nature is. So if you look at the make of our blood vessels on the human body, they have the same shape and form of the Amazon River network, or any rivers networks really, and the same as a close-up of a plant leaf. So this shows how everything is connected. Nowadays we hear a lot this sentence, everything is connected, we're all connected. Well, this is a physical, our physical body, the matter, it's actually made of the same shapes and forms. And that's why it's so important to relate everything, the environment, the built environment needs to be healthy, to be in harmony with everything. And if we look at what are the aspects that affect our health, so definitely what we eat, the diet. We always, many people at least, go to the supermarkets and they look at the ingredients of the food. What is it made of? They want to make sure that there may be the least amount of preservatives as possible, or no gluten or no sugar. Definitely exercise. So how we treat our body, do we walk? Do we keep it moving? Emotions. So how much pressure do we feel? Do we get from work, stress from our life, or how much happiness? All of this affects our body and our health. And the last thing is the environment. And this is what people tend to not to consider, because everyone takes care of emotions by, seeing coaches, psychologists, and everyone takes care of diet and exercise, but no one is looking at where do they live, the environment, how healthy is their home to start with, how, what are the materials, what are they bringing into their home, what type of materials, what type of energy. So a home, a building should have exactly a list of ingredients, like a label, like a food does, like any type of food that you buy in the supermarket, because it really affects us and our health. And before, we used to build very durable buildings just by using natural materials. All the beautiful monuments we have that are still standing, they're all built naturally. And they actually use the closed circuit of nature. So there is no waste, there is no pollution, and they just use the natural materials that they have at hand. And it's the same when it comes to food. Food before was more of a culture. And people used to even have a relationship with the animals that after, they eat and they use as food, and vegetables they would cultivate. It was a culture. And today food became a convenience, because our world became very, very fast. And the same, it's happening, and it happened already with homes. In the same way that the food became like a food-like substance more than a food, a home now, if it's habitable, then it's a home-like structure. It's not a real home, a real shelter anymore. And when you think about our bodies, we all have different levels of how much toxic exposures we can handle. And by toxic exposure, I mean toxins from materials, stress from emotional stress, preservatives that we eat from food, pollution. So there are different types of toxins that we're exposed to. And depending on the load, if you imagine like a glass of water, one day this exposure should just completely let the water overflow the glass and we become sick. So symptoms such as we cannot sleep well, or we get ill, we get depression. So there's a lot of different factors and different things that can happen if you fill up your body and you expose it at so many toxics every day. At some point it might just overflow, and for all of us is a different level. So when it comes to healthy home, it's about really a preventive medicine, which means our home is like our third skin, we say. So our first skin is obviously our skin that protects our body from the external environment and acts as a filter. Our second skin are our clothes that we use to protect from the weather, hot and cold. And the third skin is our home. If you think about it, beside our body, that we feel safe in it, we feel, protected, the next and second place is our home. This is where everyone goes into their house and you feel immediately safe, or at least that's how you should feel. So our home should be a sanctuary of wellness, of health, where we feel energized, where we can recover, we can leave all the stress outside and everything that we don't want to have in our life, because our home is our nest. And our home is also the envelope that is actually interacting with the natural environment. So that is in between us and the natural environment. And at the moment, this envelope in all houses is simply like a box made of, toxic insulating foams, man-made concrete full of ashes, which are very toxic. There is nothing that is non-toxic in our homes anymore, in our envelopes, every single thing that you look at. And all of these factors are simply adding up and increasing the levels of toxics that we are exposed to every day. And in order to start thinking, how, we all live in this world, we have these houses now. We're not going to start tomorrow building with stones, clay, and soil. It's not going to happen. But there are ways how can you start making your home more healthy. The first step is really to make conscious decisions of what materials, of what energy are you bringing into your home. So in the same way, you go to the supermarket and you look at the ingredients and you choose, what are you going to put into your body? Am I going to put a snack full of preservatives and acids and whatever, or I'm going to put a homemade loaf of bread, for example. In the same way, you can apply the same mentality to your home. What type of furniture I'm going to bring in? Where is it made? What type of foam is inside? Is it a natural foam or is it made of chemicals? Is there a fire retardant on the fabric? There are so many aspects. And where was it made? Who made it? So it's important. So that's the first step, because when everything starts, this is the same as, the eat right and get plenty of exercise and good rest that you get from your doctor when you're sick. This is the same type of prescription. Just maintain a healthy home is the same as maintaining a healthy body. And when, I meet a lot of clients and very healthy people, fit, they eat very well, they do a lot of sports, they try to keep a good balance between their work and their life, and then they still don't sleep well, they're still not comfortable in the house. And when you go in, you find so many things that can be improved, and just by doing that, people start feeling better. And that's because there is very little awareness about the importance of the health of our homes. So By the way, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to just jump in, open the microphone and ask at any time. There will be a part for questions at the end of this first section before we start into looking into the tips and guidelines on what you can do in your house to improve your home health. But at any time, please just ask away anything. So when it comes to the key factors of home wellness, what we look at is electromagnetic fields, so man-made frequency, the energy flow, the energy of the land and of the earth, the indoor air quality, and of course, the materials. So starting from electromagnetic fields. So what are electromagnetic fields? They are invisible lines of force that surround any electrical device. So we don't see them, okay, we don't touch them, we don't smell them, but they're literally like signals that are in the air and we are completely immersed by at the moment and at any time. And these are called non-ionizing radiations. So these are actually radiations that they are biologically active. So what it means is that they actually can modify the structure of our cells and our molecules. So it means they interact with our body and they change and they can cause inflammation in our cells and health effects that we'll see later. The radiations that I'm sure we all know is the gamma rays and the X-rays, you know, the Hiroshima, the nuclear power, the Hiroshima bomb, for example. These are radiations that can actually, that kill you, because what they do, they modify the structure of the atoms of our body. So these are called ionizing radiations. Non-ionizing means this will not kill you on the spot because it doesn't change your atoms, but it changes the cell's structure and the molecules of our body, so they're at a bigger scale. And non-ionizing radiations include electric fields that come from, of course, electricity, magnetic fields that it's always present when there is a flow of current. So if there is electricity, there is a magnetic field. Radio frequency, which is the digital signals, so the Wi-Fi and routers. And dirty electricity is basically what we have today. So our electricity, it's not a very smooth sine wave, harmonic sine waves that it was before, because there are so many devices in the house. The electricity becomes dirty and it emits spikes of many different types of frequencies in the house. And the devices that give this type of non-ionizing radiations and fields are exactly what you see here. So everything that we use, the phone and iPads, computers, routers, baby monitors, PlayStation, anything. The thing is, we're not going to live without technology, but the environment now is so polluted, and we're so overwhelmed with these frequencies that we need to start making conscious choices. And there are ways to, you know, use all the technology that you want, but in a safer way. And we will see later how we can improve that. The second aspect of home wellness is definitely the materials that we choose and the indoor air quality. So as an example, I'm sure you're all familiar with the VOCs, for example, that are emitted by paints that we have on the walls. These are toxins that are released by paint that even at room temperature, they keep releasing small amounts of VOCs. And nowadays, there are many paints that don't have any VOC. However, there are other ingredients inside, like solvents, that are still toxic. So the best thing is to use natural paints, like clay paint or natural plaster paint, that are all available. Other aspects that are really important for our home, that again, if you remember that, you know, glass of water, it's not possible to remove everything or to do everything naturally, but there are many things that can be done. So if you look at pesticides and cleaning products, these are really quite full of toxins, and they bring toxins in our home. To give an example, pesticides are made of active ingredients that kill the insect, okay? So that's an active ingredient, and that's what you see written on the label. But there are many ingredients that are called inert ingredients that are not listed because they carry, they make sure that the active ingredients is carried and it works on the insects. So they don't have to be declared. And that's 99% of the make of a pesticide. And you're probably wondering, like, but aren't there like institution or government that protects us, you know, from using these very toxic materials? And the reality is that in this case, for pesticides, for example, there is the Environmental Protection Agency in US, for example. They do control this type of pesticides, but when pesticides are registered with the EPA, it doesn't mean that they're safe. It means that they actually work, so they're efficient, they're doing their job. And there is also something called the Trade Secrets Act, which allows manufacturers to have some ingredients that are kept secret because of it's their invention. So many things are not actually written on the labels. And this is just to give you one example of, you know, if you're wondering if everything is so toxic, why, you know, governments and the health authorities allow us to use them. It's quite complex. It's a very complex mechanism and dynamics in the politics and the governments and organizations. Another thing to be aware of, air fresheners, candles that have fragrance. So candles itself, it's not a problem. But if it's a natural candle, like a beeswax candle that is made only of beeswax and coconut oil, but if you put candles with fragrance, that fragrance includes chemicals and toxins like VOCs, for example. So when you burn it, it releases it into the air. So that's when people ask me about candles, this is what it is. And what's very important as well is the control of the temperature and the moisture and mold. If you have relative humidity that is higher than 50%, so very humid environments, they create mold, and these release all the toxins. And then, of course, all the glues and adhesive and to stick really the materials. So this is not to scare you, it's just to show you how many levels of toxins we are surrounded by in our homes that we can see, we cannot see. And all of this, it's all about how much our body can handle until we, you know, until the water overflows out of the glass. And these are some of the health effects that are associated with toxins coming from materials, as well as very high electromagnetic radiations. So these have been all, you know, studied and researched by scientists and doctors, and this is in reference with the Bioinitiative report, it's called, which is a full study about the effects of these type of substances on our health. And it's so hard at the moment to pinpoint, you know, what is it, for example, if someone is having sleep disturbance or problems in their eyes. This is what I get from most of my clients, is they cannot sleep, they cannot see well, but the doctor, you know, the eye doctor, they don't find any issues in their eyes. So they actually see, but their eyes are tired and they cannot see well, and headaches. And it's really hard to pinpoint what is it, you know, is it what I eat? Is it where I sleep? Is it the pollution? Because there are so many toxins that you cannot now find it anymore. So what we do in the house, we start reducing and removing until people feel better, at least, you know, in their environment, in their home. And these are some, you know, data from the Environmental Protection Agency, which tells us that 50% of illnesses are caused or made worse by indoor pollution. And they find that in our houses, there is between 2 to 5 times more pollution than in the outside environment, which is crazy if you think about it, because we spend a lot of time in our homes. Things like asthma has doubled, you know, since 30, 40 years ago. Chemical sensitivity has grown, and 65% of our buildings are polluted. So these are data that are quite alarming, and it should really make us think, how can we improve our indoor environment to feel better? And another important aspect, this relates only to electromagnetic fields, is the World Health Organization, which released a document basically stating that these frequencies are possibly carcinogenic. It's been proven they actually give cancer and they give illnesses by many doctors and scientists, but such a statement from the WHO, it's something that we should consider. And since then, many countries implemented regulations to limit the exposure in cities and houses. So this is just to give you some reference when it comes to, you know, what's happening in the world about these issues and the toxins and the frequencies. Any questions on this before we move into the energy flow? Okay. So another important aspect of wellness in the house is definitely the energy flow. And with Feng Shui, which is a Chinese metaphysical science that harmonizes people with the surrounding environment through, for example, if you're building a house, where is the house facing, where is the entrance, where are the bedrooms, how the furniture are placed. So if there is even an existing home, you can maximize the energy flow and attract as much as possible energy from the environment. And this is important to really, when you are in balance with the environment, you are supported, you feel stronger. Feng Shui, it's, you know, each of these topics is a huge topic by itself. So I'm just trying to give you some directions and some guidelines on what these wellness factors are. And of course, in Feng Shui, the light, the natural light is absolutely part of, you know, of bringing balance and harmony in a home or an office or any type of space. The shape and proportions of the spaces, the furniture arrangements, and as well, you know, when it comes to acoustic, you see this house here on the right side of the screen. This is a house in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which has been built with wood structure and clay. So the whole envelope is natural. There is no insulation with foam. There is no concrete. It's all a natural home. And we were standing 20 people in this room. This is a living room, or about, I would say, 40 square meters. And we were 20 people standing there, and someone was talking and explaining about the house and how it was built. And I was on the opposite side, and the acoustic, I could hear the voice. There was no disturbance because all the natural material from, you know, the walls, the clay paint, the floorings, the ceilings, it just creates a fantastic environment. So this is a huge difference when it comes to using natural materials. And yeah, so when it comes to Feng Shui, again, it's a very complex discipline. And we'll give you some tips later on how you can apply certain things. And the last factor to home wellness is definitely the health of the land, so of the energy of the land. So this is called geopathology, and geopathic stress is when there is a stress in the land. And you see that, I'm sure you've seen once in your life at least, this type of trees. Either trees that grow some in a strange way, or they simply grow on the side, moving away from a specific point. So these are points of basically stress of the land, which can be given by, for example, underground water, natural streams. It can be given by combination of factors like construction, man-made water pipes, construction works. And because the earth is made of energy grids, so the earth is like, you know, our body, not in the sense of course, that it is exactly like we are, but the earth is alive. and it's made of energy points, energy grids, and it has its own balance somehow. And when this balance is disrupted, this geopathic stress, it's called, it's an energy that it's emitted in a specific point. And as you can see from these trees, it doesn't look good. It can be very bad if, for example, you are sleeping on one of these points. So before starting any construction on a new plot of land, we assess, what is the energy of the land? Is there any geopathic stress point? And based on that, you would plan the house, for example, to avoid this point. If it's an existing home and you have, geopathic stress in your house and you didn't know, then also the first thing you do, you move away. And then there are some techniques to tame these type of energies. And some signs of geopathic stress are cracks in the walls and ceilings in always the same point that keeps coming, corrosion, or even light bulbs or TV that don't work well, they keep breaking. So these are some symptoms that your home might have geopathic stress. Is there any questions now before we start the guidelines and tips?
So Valentina, just a real quick question, going back actually to the previous one where you talked about the VOCs and all the adhesives and things that go into a home to put that together. And I mean, that's a key topic for any building project today, because of just how do we I mean, and I know there's lots of more products and material available today that are low VOC.
Yes.
And much better for us. And I mean, is that something that we should insist upon, and availability of that? I can say that acceptable VOC levels differ from around the world, from different places. So just kind of want to expand on that just a little bit.
Well, I practice building biology, which is all about building natural. So for me, I always promote natural, but I understand that there are some instances where it's just not possible for some reasons. So what we do in building biology is we assess each project, each context, each client, the budget, and a lot of things. And then you do what you can do best, for everything. So you try to reduce the level of toxicity of the house, for example, in different ways. So the paint is one of the easiest, because you get a low no VOC paint, not even low. There are no VOC paints, which are better than the full VOC if the client cannot get the natural paint, for example. But it's all about looking at overall, never just one item. And the difference between for example, building biology and the certifications such as LEED, which is the most known, is that, for example, in the LEED there are some things such as you want to let's say, they promote using materials that are recycled, okay, which is great. But what happens sometimes is that you get points because you use, I don't know, a fabric that has been recycled, and you get a lot of points for that. But then what they don't take into consideration is, where does this recycled waste comes from? Because very often it's actually polluted, and there is no control over that. So the difference is that in building biology, you would look into this, but plus you will look, is this, waste, and what you're recycling is, where has it been? Where it's been stored? What has encountered on the way before it got recycled? How was it recycled? With what chemicals? So there is, a lot of things to look at. So VOCs, it's definitely one of them. And again, you just do the best you can do in everything for the project.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions, or shall we move into now the practical part? Let's call it. Okay, I'll start. So what I would like to do today, beside, of course, I've given you like an introduction to the topic and some, idea of what is holistic architecture and home health, is giving you some tips, so actual things you can put into practice into your home to improve sleep and concentration and well-being. And we're going to start with the bedroom, and then I will talk about the home office or working space, whatever you're working from. So we start with the energy flow, with the T flow. So these are some basic guidelines from Classical Feng Shui, which generally ensure a good energy flow into the bedroom. Again, Classical Feng Shui is much more complex than this, but these are just some basic guidelines that are helpful. And maybe you can look at your bedroom and see if there's anything that, sometimes you're so used to a certain location of the bed and you never thought of changing it. And when you actually do, you realize it's a huge difference. So the one thing is make sure that the bed is against a solid wall, not windows, because windows represent yang energy, which means active energy, and you don't want to receive that energy while you're sleeping. The bed should be in what is called the command position. So exactly like you see in this picture, you have sight of the door from the bed, but the bed is not aligned with the door. That's very important. Otherwise, you will receive aggressive energy coming while you're sleeping, because the doors are always the entrance. It's called energy mouth in Chinese, like a T mouth. And doors are very important because they create boundaries. But anyway, I don't want to go into too much details about Classical Feng Shui, otherwise we never finish. And very important is, do not place the bed against a wall that has a kitchen or a bathroom behind it, because kitchen and bathrooms, they also have very active energy coming from the pipes, the electricity, the water. So you might be, you'll be aligned with active energy, and then you will receive, you might get high electric fields or magnetic fields as well because of this equipment behind you. And in general, just avoid a very big mirror that reflects the bed, because that's also make the energy of the room too active for a sleeping environment. And these are some diagrams of, what's good, and all these X's is what should be avoided. So the door aligned to the bed, the kitchen behind the wall of the bed should be avoided, or the door in this location. This is also in alignment to the bed, or the door on the same wall of the bed. You won't have sight of it. You will feel like as if someone, is coming. You won't see them. And again, bathroom aligned with the bed, not recommended. And when it comes to electromagnetic fields, well, the first most important thing is the phone. All the people and clients I go to, they sleep with their phone charging next to the bed. I just want to show you, I will just stop share for a minute, and I will just show you in the video. This is a meter that measures digital signals, and I turn it on, and the sound will show you how much radiations are coming out of a phone. So I have my phone, I prepared it next to me, it's charging as well. And I'm just now turning this on. And I don't know if you can all hear this noise. So these are the noise of radio frequencies. Sorry, I'm just gonna now, when I put the phone on airplane mode, now it went on airplane mode. So you see how more quiet it is? So that's airplane mode, and this is, okay, non-airplane mode. So you got, it doesn't sound really good. This is translating electromagnetic radiations into a sound. And this is the instruments I use for the assessment. This is another meter which measures electric fields. So this is to show you that when you keep your phone next to your bed, you not only get this type of radio frequency, but you also get electric fields. So I will now turn on the meter to measure, and you will hear, this sound. That's the sound of the electric fields, very high, because the phone is charging. Now I'm gonna remove the charger. So the charger is gone, and you see how the sound has changed. So even charging the phone, it's not only about the the wireless signal, the digital signals that I've measured with the first meter, but it's also about the electric fields that the chargers are emitting. And these fields go up to like 50 to 1 meter from where they're actually charging. So don't think if you place it on the bedside table and you're a bit far on the pillow, it will not reach you, it will hit you. And this is when people just remove the phone, they just sleep better just by starting doing that. So I will share again the screen to go back to the presentation, which is here. Okay, so this is the first thing. Don't charge the phone. You can get one of these beautiful old battery clocks near the bed if you need an alarm, or simply keep your phone not charging on airplane mode, and that is acceptable. These lamps that we have next to the bed also give very high electric fields, and it's ideal if you can switch. In Dubai, we have the switches, the power outlets with a switch, so we can switch it off. In other countries, they don't, so you would need to unplug actually the table lamp to completely remove electric fields, which was really surprising when I measured many different types of lamps. So that's another thing. If possible, turn off the Wi-Fi in the house, because that's very high radiations. Even if your phone is off, the Wi-Fi will still hit you. And ideally using beds and mattresses without metal. Metal, what it does, it attracts electricity and it creates static electricity while you're sleeping. So if you can use, again, wood materials, natural materials, just not metal. And if by any chance you still have blue or white lights in your house, just replace them with red colors, which are, more aligned with the colors of the sun. Blue light, it's not ideal, especially before sleeping. And in terms of materials and indoor air quality, if you can use, safer paints, no VOCs or natural, as we discussed before. Of course, depending on the climate, but open the windows as much as possible throughout the day, especially if you do a house cleaning with products that have toxins, using natural sheets, cotton sheets, that also, helps with the comfort, and, having a natural material while you sleep is much better than having any other artificial man-made. And of course, avoid carpets, better hard flooring, and the humidity, the air humidity should be less than 50%, so between 30 and 50. Now, these are, don't feel overwhelmed and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to change so many things. It's not about that. It's about doing one thing at a time and get yourself into a habit of improving the, your sleeping environment to really improve your sleep and improve the health, because at night, this is when our body is actually recovering, our cells are regenerating. So during the day, we do a lot of things, we work, we have stress, we are exposed to toxins, and our cells keep working. At night is when we just relax, we sleep, and we allow our cells to just regenerate whatever it was broken during the day. And if you put the body at night under stress from toxins, electromagnetic radiations, you don't allow this natural recovery process of the cells. Any questions about the bedrooms before I start with the working spaces? No, okay. So, when it comes to the working space, now, in the past months, everything has changed. for everyone. Before, our home was, for many people, not for everyone, but it was a place where we just touch base or sleep in, because maybe we traveled for work, or we just spent a lot of time in the office or at meetings, and we come home only in the evening, sleep, wake up in the morning and leave. And now this has completely changed. Many people work every day from home, and this type of lifestyle has changed the exposure of our body to a lot of things. One are, you know, all the laptops. We sit on the laptop 8 hours a day. Before, we used to drive, go to the office, have a coffee with a colleague, get up, sorry, and go to have lunch, go to meetings, go back to the office. So we were not always in front of the laptop. Now we had to set up our homes. In some cases, some people are back in the office, in others it's not possible. So some people are lucky and they have a separate room in their house to work from, which makes it easier. Others they don't have. But I'm going to try to give you guidelines to whatever setup you have, you can apply it. So of course, the most important thing is, you know, try to find a space, at least very important, filled with natural light. So don't go work from a storage with no windows, or even if it's the most quiet space of the house, far away from children. Ideally, really, we need natural light. And this is very important. And when it comes, like, the thing that I stress about everyone when I do my inspections in homes is that the electromagnetic environment, that's the main thing that has changed. And sorry, these are the meters that I've used before to show you the electric fields and the digital signals. And generally, you should have between 1 to 5 volts per meter in electric fields to be in a normal, safe environment. I find people with, now I go to their homes, they have 100 volts per meter. Some people 500 volts per meter. And the same with the safe radio frequency levels, they're between 10 and 15 microwatts per square meter. And what I find is like 2,000, 4,000. So here we're talking about huge level. And these levels, they're standards that have been set by building biology and established by doctors and scientists. So it's been studied and researched. And this is what's the concerning thing. But starting with, again, we're going to start with the energy flow and what would be the most favorable location of a desk, or if you work from the dining table, I'm not sure, but if you have a desk, just make sure that you have a solid walls at your back, and again, not a window, because of the active energy. It will bring a lot of instability and obstacles in your work. Make sure you are in the common position, so you have sight of the door, and you are not aligned with the door. So this is not okay, this type of alignment. And avoid, I mean, this year, 2021, which for the Feng Shui Chinese calendar is starting in February, so very soon. If you can, just avoid to be working from the north sector, because it's the sector that will have this energy of more like related to illness, which doesn't mean you will get sick or anything, but there will be, you will not be very much supported by the house energy if you're located in the north in 2021. So these are just some general strategies for placing yourself in the house.
By north sector, what do you mean by that?
So I mean, for example, when you look at the Google map of your home on Google Map from the top, you will see like the north is up. Mm-hmm. So based on that, you can identify where is the south, east, west, southwest, and northwest, and you can almost like divide your home. You know, you can say that the north is in that bedroom, and you can say the kitchen is aligned to the southwest. So this is how you find it. So ideally in Feng Shui, I measure actually with, this is the Feng Shui compass. Can you all see it, or should I stop sharing? Yeah. You see it, okay. So this is the one, it's very complex, but anyway, You measure with the compass from the center of the house. So I don't use Google Map, I actually measure and identify which room is in what sector. But you can just use Google Map and it will be approximately correct.
So avoid working from that area this year.
Yeah, it's not the most auspicious sector this year.
Okay.
And you will also know from the sun, you know, if you don't get sun in that room, that's probably the north sector.
Okay.
Generally, yeah.
All right.
And so now the first step, so whether you have an office space, you're working from home, what I find is that a lot of people, because they have to set up in their home somehow to be able to work, they have placed these routers right on their desk or even in the same room. These routers really emit very high radiations, similar to what we've heard with the phone before. And it's it's really really high, because also these devices, they emit much more than what we actually need in the house, because these signals are very weak. They get interrupted by walls, glass, furniture. So they're really powerful. That's why if you have it next to you, you're gonna be hit by these radiations. So if you cannot move the router and put it like in a corridor or a space that is not really where you don't sit, at least you can get this type of signal tamers are called. That is a net made of copper, silver fibers that reduce the radiations emitted by the router. And by putting it on, you can actually still do your calls, go on the internet normally, but with much less radiations coming to you. So, and by the way, if anyone wants any more details about anything after presentation, there are my details at the end, so you just email me or call me. Because here, if I give all these details of where you can find it and so on, it's gonna take 3 hours. So this is just an advice. And the second thing, very important, so now everyone is working with a laptop, and then they have now a printer next to you, and then they have a table lamp. They charge their phone, they charge their iPad, and there's probably also like a screen. All of these together, all of these turned on, it emits very high, again, electromagnetic fields that, you know, you don't see them, you don't feel them, but I showed you before an example, they're there. And what you can do because, you know, you cannot just get rid of printers or get rid of everything. To minimize, so whatever you don't need on the desk close to you, just move it far. So at least if you keep 2 meters or 1.5 meters should be okay. So whatever you don't use, if you can charge your phone or your iPads, you know, in another room or in another socket that is not on your desk, is much better. And then, for example, if you don't use all the time the printer, just keep it off. Just keep it off, because most of the printers nowadays, they are wireless. So they keep trying to find the connection with your laptop or with whatever is set up, which is not really great. And I just want to, let's see if we have enough time. It's already 6 o'clock, it's fine. I already showed you the phone. I wanted to show you the printers and, you know, the radiations there, but I think I'll just continue for now because it's 6 o'clock. But it's the same. The printer emits very high radiations. When I put the meter there, it's like tu-tu, the same sound before, very loud, very noisy. And as soon as I turn it off, it disappears. So keep devices off if you don't use them. That's the idea. And make sure that everything electrical you have, it's grounded. So what this means, this is a grounded power cord because there are 3 tips to the plug. This is ungrounded. So in Dubai, and I think in UK as well, we have this type of power cords. In Europe, in Italy, these are very common. They have only the hot and the neutral connection. They don't have the ground. And when you don't have the ground, the electric fields are like extremely high. And people don't realize. So when you sit for 8 hours or even half a day and you're bombarded by very high electric fields, radio frequencies, the first symptom is you cannot sleep at night because your body has been charged the whole day with these fields, and it's inside you, and it just keeps you awake because your cells are working and working, like what's happening? Why am I getting so much electricity? So if you have these type of situations, just get a USB ground cord. So if anyone interested where to get it from, just email me, I'll give you all the details. This will solve the problem. And I find even PlayStation, the PS4 that most kids have when I go to my clients' houses, they're all ungrounded. And these kids, they sit all day on the PS4, like with 600 volts per meter electric field, which is really high. And when we ground it, it's just all gone. So it's a very simple measure and very simple solution. Another thing is some of these monitor screens, they have also very high electric fields, and the only solution is to really get a shielded power cord. So it's a power cord that doesn't allow the electric fields to reach the screen and hit you on the face, basically. So this is another solution if you have a screen. I have a Dell screen, which doesn't emit anything. So some brands are really good, others are less. So it depends on what you have. And then once you have cleaned up your electromagnetic environment in the room, you can get an earthing mat, which basically what it does, it reduces the inflammation of the cells. So now you have, turn off the printer, you have removed iPads and phones charging around, and you just have your computer. So your electric environment, everything is grounded, should be much lower. Then at this point, you can get an earthing mat, which is a mat that you can see here, put your feet on. So any electric field that your body is absorbing as you are working on a machine, they're actually going through the body, and they get released through the earthing mat. And it really helps to reduce inflammation, because anyway, we are absorbing electric field, but instead of retaining them in the body, you're just discharging them. I mean, ideally, if you can go out for a walk, depending where you live and what's the environment there and the climate, that's ideal. If you can ground in your garden, put your feet on the grass, that's ideal. Not everyone can do that, so this is another option, but you have to make sure that the socket that you're plugging in the earthing mat is actually wired correctly. And you can do that with this socket tester. It's very easy. You just plug it in the socket and it will tell you if the ground is an actual ground. Because if you plug the earthing mat in a socket that doesn't have a proper grounding, then it's pointless. So, and then again, if you have, I'm sure many of you have this type of situation where there is this socket bar with many plugs in it. Very important, just don't keep it next to you, next to your feet, as far as possible from your body, because these also are very, very high in electric fields. So you might have moved everything from your desk, but then you keep this on your feet, next to your feet, you're still absorbing a lot of electric fields. So if you have that, just keep it far, possibly not on the desk, as far as you can. And this is, it's something that many people are not familiar with, but this type of very high electromagnetic environment really put a lot of stress on our body. And since we have this situation of, working from home, lockdowns, and so on, it's also the, the stress of the situation, the pressure, our life has suddenly changed, so we all feel stress. But if we at least try to keep our home and our office area, our working space, a bit more healthy, we can really help our body. And again, keep that, level of toxicity as low as possible, as low as we can, because we're going through a lot of stress in general. And another thing is, if you work a lot on the laptop, blue light protective glasses are really good to help the eyes not to get tired, because the blue light is really, if you have long exposure to blue light from computers or TVs as well, it just makes the eyes tired, and it doesn't help sleeping as well. And the last thing is, in general, when it comes to working space, materials and indoor air quality, Again, if you can avoid metal for desk in general, using natural furniture, it's much better because again, metal attracts electricity, conducts electricity, and it creates static electricity that we don't want to have next to us. If you can walk outdoor, as I said before, that's great. Height adjustable desk, we all know that if possible, they're very good. And if you, you know, like these type of fragrances, like natural essential oils, are really good in diffusers to keep the air vibrant. Of course, this has to be natural, because if we use the chemical one with fragrances inside, we are breathing toxins. And of course, nature plants as much as you can in your working area. There are some plants that even have a higher absorption rate of electromagnetic fields. So plants like cactus or a bonsai, they absorb more of these man-made frequencies, so they can help us have a better harmonious environment. So we have seen a lot of you know, things that we can do to improve our home, improve our health. And the thing is that it's just about making a conscious decision of, you know, everything that we bring into our house. Have a look at your bedroom. What can you improve there? The phone, the table lamp to be unplugged, the sheets, anything that you can do without doing everything at once. I mean, if you want to change everything, then it's great. But if not, very slowly, try and test. You know, when you reduce the electromagnetic pollution in your home, do you sleep better? If you reduce the magnetic fields, electric fields in your office, in your working space, do you feel like you have more concentration? Or you just simply change the location of the desk or change room? Anything, one of these, any of these tips and guidelines that I've given you, just try and test, because trust me, I've seen huge changes in people's well-being in their house just by turning off the Wi-Fi at night. Just one thing. And for me, is what's important is that, you know, we as humans, we are nature. We are part of nature. We are the same thing. And I think if we all make a conscious decision to try and reconnect more with nature and demand, you know, look for materials for our houses, for our homes, or our offices that are as natural as possible, we will all be able to create awareness as well as a demand, so that manufacturers and companies will be forced to create new products and new things, which is already happening, but that are more naturally based. And all these toxins and these chemicals that do not belong in nature, they're just destroyed, then can just, you know, get out of our life, and we'll be able to live in healthier environments. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and please, any questions, let me know.
I don't have any questions, but thank you. That was really, really helpful.
Thanks, Valentina. I think we're going to go move our rooms around a little bit and try to find that space that's not on the north side of the house to work.
Yeah.
I just used my compass and I'm in the north side now, so I'm going to have to make some changes. If I can.
If any of you, like, you know, would like to send me, actually here are my contact details. So feel free to email me. And if you want to send me a picture of your room and what you have, and, you know, I'll be happy to help on how you can implement certain things. So feel free to reach out anytime. If you want to know where to find certain products, even I can give you a list of, say you're interested in healthier cleaning products, I can give you that. A list of paints that are healthier. Anything you've seen in the presentation, I'm happy to, you know, share the details where you can get it, or how you can set up your room or improve your space. So reach out anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.